Liam Abbey and Ethan Harper had known each other for barely an hour when they had to face a really uncomfortable situation that would completely change their careers as police officers in the city of San Francisco, an event as unfair as usual. That will surely not surprise you at all, but which luckily had a very different ending than the one we are used to hearing about in the news. But before we go into details and relate the event in question, we will give you some context that will help you better understand the reason for this story. On the one hand, we have 35-year-old Police Sergeant Liam Abbey, who came from a long line of policemen, which unfortunately had developed in him an attitude of superiority that only caused him problems. His arrogance made people fear him and prefer to keep quiet and obey him rather than start a conflict, which allowed him to rise through the ranks with relative ease and only served to further inflate his confidence and become a truly despicable being. Abbey often looked down on the people he worked with, thinking he was better than them simply because he came from a police family. Although everyone knew that was not the right attitude for a police officer, no one dared to question it. Everyone knew how powerful and terrifying Liam's father and grandfather had been, and it was clear that the young cop was going in the same direction as his predecessors and intended to keep their legacy intact, or even, if allowed, take it a little bigger still. While not everyone in his family agreed with his attitude, his own mother despaired at her son's demeanor. She had separated from his father for the same reasons and hoped that her only son would not end up like him. She tried hard to raise him well, but he had always looked up to the men in his family and, as such, was quick to adopt their attitudes as well. His mother constantly warned him that people would refuse to work with him, and that professional and personal relationships would be difficult if he didn't change his attitude. But Liam refused to listen to her. His pride was far above what others might think of him or his family, and not even his mother would be able to make him change his mind and realize what a big mistake he was making by behaving this way. The Abbeys should never apologize for being the way they are. We are a family of respected police officers, the best cops the city of San Francisco has ever known. And you, as the mother and wife of two respected police officers, should be proud of that and not chastise me for everything. I'm sorry, Mom, but you're not right, Liam told his mother every time she tried to change his attitude. On the other hand, we have Ethan Harper. Compared to his direct superior and new patrol partner, Liam, we can only say one thing about Harper: he is a good person and a cop dedicated to his job who deserves all our respect. Harper had grown up in a small town where everyone knew each other. His father was a high school teacher, and his mother was a nurse. They had instilled in him a strong sense of justice and empathy from a young age. He had always dreamed of becoming a police officer, not because of the power or the uniform, but because he wanted to help people. He believed in the principles of fairness and equality and was determined to uphold them in his career. Harper had just graduated from the police academy with top honors and was eager to prove himself as a capable and fair-minded officer. He had been warned about the challenges he would face, especially from seasoned officers who might not share his ideals. But Ethan was ready to face these challenges head-on, confident that his actions and integrity would speak louder than any words. That brings us to the moment when these two men, so different and yet so full of commonalities, met and set out on their first surveillance patrol together. It happened one summer morning. The police station was short-staffed at the time, as many officers had started their vacations, forcing them to pull from the pool of new, recently graduated officers who were eager to prove themselves and earn a position. One of them was Ethan. When Liam found out he would have to patrol with a rookie, he was in a foul mood. Abbey hated hanging out with rookie cops but saw it as an opportunity to put them in their place and let them know exactly who they were up against. Ethan, oblivious to what he was up against, was eager to prove himself as a cop and full of excitement about making his first patrol of the city. Abbey picked up on all these emotions quickly and knew that he would be an easy rookie to handle and one he could easily overpower. However, he would soon realize his mistake, and that he had underestimated a young man whose capabilities as a police officer, and above all, as a human being, were far beyond his own. They had only been on patrol for half an hour when something caught Liam's attention. The officer slowed the car and stuck his neck out of the window to observe a black girl, barely 5 years old, riding around the neighborhood on her bicycle. Ethan, who didn't quite understand his superior's attitude, watched the girl playing on the bike and asked why they had stopped when it was clear there was nothing suspicious to investigate. "It's just a child playing. Why are we watching her?" asked the rookie innocently. There was something about Liam's attitude that struck Ethan as odd. He had a terrible feeling that the need to keep an eye on this child had to do with the color of the girl's skin and nothing else. Still, he decided to wait and give his boss the benefit of the doubt. It took him very little time to realize that he had been wrong, though. They stood still watching the girl for several minutes until finally, Liam broke the silence. What he said only succeeded in making his partner more nervous. "You stay here and watch. Now I'm going to show you what it means to do justice in this city and be a real San Francisco cop." He winked and got out of the car with an expression that made his intentions very clear. Liam got out of the car and walked steadily towards the girl, who was still riding her bike up and down the street. The girl was playing happily, seemingly unaware that two policemen had been watching her and were now approaching her. The fun was about to end. Ethan still held out hope that his partner would act appropriately and follow the principles the police had taught them. But when Liam barked at the girl to reveal her name and address, looking at her as if he had just encountered a large rat he had to exterminate, the rookie was speechless. He was now more convinced than ever that Liam was only targeting the girl because she was black. Moved by an impulse and disregarding the regulation that obliges him not to disobey the orders of a direct superior, Ethan got out of the car to try to stop Liam and free that poor girl from the interrogation to which his colleague was subjecting her. "Leave her alone. Can't you see she's scared and doesn't understand what you're telling her? She's just a child," shouted Ethan in desperation. But Abby didn't seem to hear anything he was saying and was shouting louder and louder at the terrified girl. Suddenly, the girl abandoned her bike and ran off down the street toward her house. But instead of seeing the girl's reaction as obvious proof of his mistake, Liam thought that if the girl ran away, it was because she was really doing something wrong and ran after her, leaving Ethan even more confused. "Liam, please stop. That little girl has done nothing wrong. She's scared. Don't chase her," Harper shouted to his superior as he ran after him. But Abby had already reached the girl and was holding her tightly by one arm as he took off his handcuffs and put them on her slender wrists. The girl was shaking, and her body had begun to let out huge sobs that echoed throughout the street. Seeing her, Ethan felt his heart break and knew he had to do something to make the situation end. But what he didn't know, neither he nor his partner knew, was that there would be someone else listening to the screams of this helpless girl. Someone with the authority to make it all end, including possibly the careers of the two police officers. It turned out that the girl had almost reached the door of her house, which was just a few meters from where the policeman was holding her, and that inside the house was none other than the girl's father. Alarmed by his daughter's sobs, he had run out into the street to see what was going on. But the girl's father was not just any man, and the two police officers were about to find out. The man came out furious, and when he saw the scene, he went into a rage. He was an imposing man, the kind that just by looking at you is able to freeze your blood and make it very clear that you should not contradict them. The kind of man that a guy like Liam could come to fear, and rightly so. "What are you doing to my daughter?" "Let her go now," shouted the man in anger and slapped Liam away from his daughter. The man was as angry as any father would be to see his daughter handcuffed and crying. But there was something else that no one else knew, something that would completely change things. Seeing that neither of the two officers was able to give him a convincing explanation of what they were doing, the man took his wallet out of his pocket and showed them his ID card. Suddenly, Liam lost all color. The arrogant look of smugness disappeared and was replaced by a face of immediate regret. The girl's father was the new district police deputy, Patrick Reynolds, who had just arrived in town and was starting his new assignment the next day. Abby, instead of admitting his mistake and apologizing, tried to make up a story about the girl causing trouble in the neighborhood, which was not convincing at all. Harper could no longer listen to Liam's lies and told Deputy Reynolds the whole truth about how Liam had immediately assumed the girl was up to no good and had terrorized her without any evidence. The deputy was furious and decided the matter should be dealt with formally at the police station. "You did the right thing by telling the truth, rookie. "Your duty to justice and ethics is above the rules," Captain Reynolds told Ethan after hearing everything. Liam's reign of terror was about to end. He had made a grave mistake, and this time no one was willing to lie for him. Ethan, although a rookie, was willing to tell the truth as many times as needed for Liam to be properly punished. The next day, when the captain called Liam into his office, the corrupt cop still had an air of self-confidence, believing he could get out of this situation as he had before. But this time, it would not be so easy. Captain Reynolds informed Liam that he was dismissed. The confidence with which he had entered the room vanished. With the entire precinct against him and numerous evidence of corruption and racism on his record, Liam Abbey would never be a cop again. Desperate, Abbey pleaded with the captain to reconsider, but to no avail. "Racism is something we must fight against, not encourage. No matter who you are or how superior you think you are, I will not allow anyone to act in a racist manner in this station," said the captain after announcing Liam's immediate dismissal. For his part, Harper received congratulations from his colleagues and especially from the captain, who told them all to always raise their voices if something was wrong, just as Ethan had done. Despite being new, Ethan had shown bravery and integrity, teaching a lesson that arrogance and prejudice could never stand up to the truth and justice. As word of the incident spread throughout the precinct, Ethan became somewhat of a hero among his fellow officers. Many admired his courage in standing up to someone as intimidating as Liam Abbey. Others were relieved that someone had finally put an end to Abbey's reign of terror. Ethan's actions inspired a renewed sense of integrity and justice within the department. Officers who had been silent out of fear or complacency began to speak up about their concerns, creating an environment where transparency and accountability were prioritized. Ethan's bravery didn't go unnoticed by the higher-ups either. Deputy Reynolds, impressed by Ethan's dedication to justice, took him under his wing. He saw in Ethan a promising young officer who embodied the values the police force should stand for. With Reynolds' mentorship, Ethan quickly rose through the ranks, proving time and again that he was committed to serving and protecting all members of the community, regardless of their background. Meanwhile, Liam Abbey's life took a downward spiral. Without his badge and the power it gave him, he struggled to find his place in the world. The arrogance that had once been his armor now left him isolated. He was shunned by former colleagues and found it difficult to adjust to a life without the authority he had once wielded so recklessly. The reality of his actions and their consequences hit him hard. He was forced to confront the truth about himself, something he had always avoided. Ethan's rise in the police force wasn't just about his professional growth. It was also about the change he brought to the precinct. He championed community policing, focusing on building trust between the police and the neighborhoods they served. He organized community meetings, where residents could voice their concerns and work together with the police to find solutions. This approach led to a significant decrease in crime rates and an increase in community cooperation. Ethan also initiated training programs within the department, emphasizing the importance of cultural sensitivity, de-escalation techniques, and ethical policing. His efforts were instrumental in transforming the department's culture from one of fear and intimidation to one of respect and collaboration. Officers were encouraged to see themselves as part of the community, not above it. As for Deputy Reynolds, his tenure as district police deputy was marked by significant reforms. He implemented stricter policies to prevent incidents of racial profiling and abuse of power. Under his leadership, the department became a model for other precincts, demonstrating that it was possible to maintain law and order while respecting the rights and dignity of every individual. Years later, Ethan Harper became the youngest officer to be promoted to captain in the history of the San Francisco Police Department. His journey from a fresh-faced rookie to a respected leader was a testament to his unwavering commitment to justice. He never forgot the lessons he learned that fateful day with Liam Abbey, and he made sure that the department never did either. In the end, Ethan's story became a beacon of hope and a powerful reminder that one person's courage can make a profound difference. It showed that integrity and compassion are not just ideals to strive for, but essential qualities that define true leadership. And most importantly, it reminded everyone that in the fight for justice, there is no place for prejudice and arrogance. Only truth and fairness will prevail. As for the little girl, whose fear and tears had sparked this chain of events, she grew up knowing that not all officers were like Liam Abbey. She saw firsthand the positive change that could come from standing up for what was right. Inspired by Ethan Harper's bravery and her father's dedication, she decided to become a lawyer, fighting for the rights of those who couldn't fight for themselves. The ripple effects of that one summer day continued to spread, touching lives and shaping futures in ways that no one could have predicted. It was a story that everyone in the city of San Francisco would remember, a story of justice, integrity, and the power of doing what is right, no matter the cost.